not only just to be sympathetic, but empathetic, because his passion, his compassion led him to do something about their situation. And brothers and sisters, if you got people in your life and they have compassion toward you, it ought to lead them not just to say, can I help you, but they ought to start moving toward helping you without having you to ask for it, without having you to request it, without you having to beg for it, because they have compassion toward you. Because these men concerned, because confidence, because cooperation and competence had compassion toward the man, it led them, it pressed them to do something about his indigent condition. So they picked him up. Tell your neighbor, they picked him up. And the fact that they picked him up shows compassion. They had compassion. What are you trying to say, preacher? I'm trying to get you to understand and to know today that don't you let nobody in your life that don't have compassion toward you. If they don't care anything about you, listen, turn your back on them. If they don't care anything about you, you're wasting your time. Oh my God. Listen, young ladies, I don't know why God is telling me to tell somebody this, but don't you marry nobody, or don't you get hooked up to no man that don't have compassion toward you. Well, how do I know whether or not he's going to have compassion? Well, you can generally tell what's to a person while you are dating them or while you are going with them. You can find out then. If they don't have no compassion toward you, then they won't have none when you get married. If they won't open the door for you beginning, they won't open the door for you in the ending, Although I know some people have slacked off on it, but listen, you got to know how to show compassion, and you can get to know a person and their level of compassion by observing them, watching them, being around them, Don't get hooked up with nobody that don't have no compassion. If they cheated before you got married, they gonna cheat when you get married. If they were a cheapskate and a miser before you got married, they gonna be cheap and miserly after you get married. Glory to God. So you got to avoid people that don't have compassion toward you. Now watch this. You cannot judge a person's level of compassion by judging what they do for you while you're up, while you're balling, while you're calling the shots, while you got enough money to walk in the bar and say, set them up, drinks on me. You can't judge the level of a person's compassion when they can when you can do for yourself and they don't have to do anything for you. But the level of a person's compassion is shown. How do they treat you when you're down? How do they treat you when you don't have anything to offer them? This man is the recipient of compassion, and he can literally do nothing for them. The 4 men that carried him to Jesus, he couldn't do anything for them. He's paralyzed. He's on a bed. He can't move. He has no mobility. He has nothing to offer them. But because they had compassion toward him, watch me now, they did for him when he couldn't do for himself or he couldn't do for them. Because you do know there are some people, brothers and sisters, who won't do for you unless you can do something for them. I've heard people say, well, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What am I going to get out of it? Those are not people that have compassion toward you. And don't get involved with people who don't have compassion for you when nobody else is looking. What do you mean, preacher? Well, you remember the story of the Good Samaritan, the man who was traveling the Jericho road and he was beat up, passed up, and finally picked up.